Okay, back to the scene of the crime. Have the parking brake shoes here. So I'm just going to start from the beginning and do the drill over again, just because it's a good habit to get in the habit of, So I'm going to grab my screwdriver and pop that cap off. Set this over here. Like I said, not a good idea to set those behind the wheels. Okay. Bust these loose. That's this one here. They shouldn't have rusted on there since yesterday. And excuse me, go over here to the jack. My jacking point here is the same. You'll notice I flipped the vehicle around the other direction. It was flipped the other way on the driveway. Now it's the other way. I'm using the same jacking point on this side that I did on the other one. Okay, just a little bit of air there. Alright, put my jack stand back here. Okay. I mean, it pays to take a few seconds to fiddle around with it to make sure it's kind of in a stable position. You could just throw it under there, but it's nice to kind of, All right, wheel chock. Like I said, don't really need it for this situation, but it's a good habit to get into, an absolutely mandatory good habit to get into if you work on manual transmission cars. Alright, I need... Guess what I don't have? My gloves. Hold on, let me go get some gloves. Alright, I got the gloves on. Really does help save on your hands a little bit, Lots of mechanics these days wear gloves when they didn't used to, and they realize that they're healthier for that because all the chemicals and all that stuff getting absorbed. I mean, I can tell you from personal experience, just not, doing a lot of it, but not doing it all day long, every day, for years and years and years of decades. You have maybe a period of several months where I didn't get too dirty with greasies or cars, and then maybe I'm, in knee deep in fluid and grease and stuff for a couple of weeks, and you can kind of tell you just kind of feel not as good, and you just kind of because you're absorbing a lot of chemicals constantly in through your hands. It's not just one thing. Probably some of the cleaners and that stuff are probably worse than some of the greases and the oils, to be honest with you. Okay, we got to take our calipers off so we can pull off the rotor and then get to the assembly there. So, let's see here. We had, I remember it was this side we had, they both have 12 millimeter bolts, but this one had, I think, 14 millimeter heads. So we had 3 issues with this thing, at least so far. We had not it. Well, this wasn't really a bad issue, but the bolt head size on this was not what it was supposed to be. The bolt up there on the caliper bracket, one of those, the top bolt was missing on that, which we have video of that and replace that. And then this parking brake lining falling out when I pulled the old rotor off. So. Hold on, let me pause it. Alright. Thought I heard one of my locals on the radio in there. It turns out it was just a skip. Alright, these should just slide off of here. Out of here. Okay, and guess what I forgot? My coat hanger. So I'm just going to get that. All right. I'm just going to loop it around this brake line itself here. Kind of bend that coat hanger into place there. That should be okay. Like I said, the caliper's not too heavy. It shouldn't rip that brake line right off of there, but it's best to just kind of try and, you know. Okay, made sure to release the emergency brake. Otherwise, this would not be sliding off. All right. Okay. All right, there we go. So, this can be a lot of not fun here. If you do this all day long, or you're from the old school where you did this all the time, then it probably, you know, it's going to be a 5-minute job. But if you're maybe never done it before, or you're like me and you've done it a lot but don't like doing it or haven't done it in a while, I really gotta look up what the rules are as far as languages. Because I'm a firm believer in cursing, swearing. Not curse. Cursing and swearing actually to me are two different things. But I don't consider swearing cursing. But I do my fair share of it, and you know, it's better than chucking stuff or getting angry and doing stupid stuff like that. So, okay, the first thing you always need to do is try to figure out which side's up and which side's down, which side's left, which side's right. So, this one here, we got a little hole here for that spring there. We've got this retaining spring here, which holds the shoe to the backing plate. There's a little pin back here with a spring on it. Well, actually, maybe this is the spring here, this thing on here. And then there's a spring down at the bottom that goes through this hole here. This one has a slot up at the top here. This one's got a slot here. And then it kind of has a funny step slot there. And that's what it looks like on the bottom. So, we know that this one is that shoe there. And these there's 4 of them in the box. They come in a packages of 2. So they should be, you know, the 2 proper ones in the package. But, you know, you never know. So. And basically the same thing here. You'll notice that this one I actually have upside down because the retainer for that is here and the stepped part goes on the bottom, and so it should be like this. You know, there's your retaining pin for that slot there. Funny looking step slot, and then your definite slot there, and that one's there. Alright. Now taking these old ones off of here. I've never done a set of these before, so this is just going to be... The first thing you're probably going to want to do is loosen this retaining clip here. It looks like if you just pound it a little bit, Okay, it looks like I need to maybe, let's see, what do we need to get that off of there? Okay. You push it down somehow, but I'm not sure exactly how you're supposed to do that. So, I think if you push down on that, that's a pretty good way to get it off of there. It ought to be fun to get back on. Oh, God. All right. Oh. So, we've got that retaining. And like I said, there's a pin back there somewhere. I can't feel it with my glove on, so I'm going to try and figure out where that thing is. Okay, there's a little hole back here that you can stick your finger into so that you can, okay, get that. Alright, so we've already got this thing kind of going that way. So the next thing is, let's see, we got a spring here. There's only 2 springs on this thing. So 2 springs, so you basically have a retaining clip, a top spring, and a bottom spring. So we've already undone the retaining clip here. And both of these springs are single springs, meaning they're both connected to each other. So what I'm going to do is go grab a pair of pliers and a couple of skinnier screwdrivers, and I'll be right back. Okay. If there was ever a time to wear safety glasses, this is it. I'm trying to think on modern cars anything more springier than this. Coil springs maybe, but by the time those hit you, your eyes ain't going to be the problem. You're not going to probably have a head. So, let's see. I have no idea how tight on here these springs are. Okay. So what I'm going to do is take this other pin off this other side here. Alright, I got that one off of there. And that enables more flexibility here and less stress on the spring. It's just easier to get. These did not come with a hardware kit, so you don't want to stretch or screw up the existing springs on here. I mean, once in a while you'll open up something like this and you'll find a broken spring laying in there, which could have just as well been a broken spring as it was the lining, but okay, so alright, spring down here. Alright, that one actually came off of there, and I don't think it busted. No, it didn't. Wow, holy crap. Now here's an adjuster that fell out, and I'm not 100% positive which way it went in there. So I gotta look and see where the little, somewhere in there, there's a little flapper. I guess you adjust those manually. It would appear. So, well, let's see. Okay, it goes in this way because the slot to adjust it is further. There's a little slot back here with a rubber plug in it, and it's closer to this side of adjusting it. So it goes in this way. Again, it is nice to have a hardware kit with these things, but it is what it is. Okay, so I think once you get one at the bottom or the top, yeah, once you get one of the springs, then you're pretty much good to go there as far as that goes. So we got the bottom one off of there. This is a pretty light spring. I mean, an older vehicle, it really would be nice to have, you know, an extra one of those. Like I said, these are available with or without the hardware kit. This one did not come with it, obviously. So, all right, we're just kind of going to lift these things off of here. There's some other parts and stuff back here I'm trying to get a little bit of a look at here so we can see what's going on here. Okay. There's some kabuki stuff going on here. Okay, this is the part of the lever assembly that when you push on the foot brake, it does all kinds of stuff that you really don't probably want to screw up. This stuff is really stupid simple. It's just, if you're not used to looking at it, and you know, you just, it's you know, this is a brake system, so it's easy to kind of get intimidated. Like, see, I have my gloves off for 2 minutes, and that's what happens. All right, I'm gonna go clean up my hands a little bit, put my gloves back on, get this spring off of here, and kind of set everything up, and get some stuff to clean this off just a little bit, and I'll be back. Stick with me. All right. So, I'm just going to spray a little bit on this on here, not much. All right. So, what I'm going to kind of try and do is try and sort of put these things on here like they came off. And that is, remember they were on here. I took off the, you got to make sure you get these things on here right, and that's kind of a funky looking chicken there. But I think I can get it. But you had these alignment pin things in the back here with these clips. And then you get rid of that one spring down there, and then after that you just kind of pull them off like that, and you end up with something like this. So we're going to see if I can just put these on basically in reverse of how they were. And again, if you get grease or dirt or crap all over these linings, you can clean any brake part or surface, any pads, any shoes you get stuff on, you can clean it off of there with whatever, pretty much. Just make sure you do. Okay, so we got those two hooked in there just like they were hooked into there, so we're going to see if we can just kind of... Now, these things in the back here, you're probably going to have to maybe push these back just a little bit, or they're probably just naturally going to get pushed back. They might even fall out. That's okay. That's just... We'll deal with that once we get this on here. So, you've got these teeth here, and they go, you know, over, this one kind of goes over this part here, and the other one here kind of goes over this part here. So, you just kind of, I'm thinking that's kind of how you do it, like that. Let's see, is it like, that one there, I know that's how that one goes. That one there, that looks like that's how that goes there too. Okay. Oops, that one slipped up a little bit. Okay. There. And if you're wondering what that little... Now, I'm not sure... Those little chink noises are these little pins falling out like I figured they would, so... That's okay. Alright, let me make sure these things are on here right. I think this is maybe supposed to go... Maybe not. Out a little bit more, but maybe not. Maybe that's completely proper. probably about right. So then the next thing, you're probably going to want to try and spread these things out and put this adjuster in here. And how open or closed that adjuster is, depending on how worn the shoes are, I don't know. These linings are definitely thicker than the old ones, but not. These weren't down to metal. Well, this one was falling apart, but alright. Get the adjuster in there. Okay, so we got the adjuster in there. And your gloves get dirty. I can already see my greasiness on this shoe here, so we will be wiping these off. Alright. I'm just trying to figure out if this, I think that's the way it should be. There's a rub mark right here, but then there's one here too. And if you have that off, I don't think, I think that's about right, because, oh, and then this fell off again. So again, these things, this kind of stuff is extremely fidgety. Okay, that should be right. Okay. This right here looks a little higher than that, and I'm just kind of trying to figure out if that's, you know, if I've got this on here too high, if that's supposed to be, you know, yeah, I know that fell out, but I gotta make sure. And I'm pretty sure that's how that goes in there, like that. Okay, that makes me feel. Just trying to make sure I get that how it's supposed to be there. Okay, there's definitely where the rub spot is there, not on the other one there. So that's the proper way to have it on there. So okay, wear spots are a big indicator. You got to look for them. Okay. Get this adjuster back in here. This thing loves to fall out. That's because there's no spring in the bottom here yet. Okay. Alright. Now, I'm not sure whether the next step should be to put in these backing things here or to try and put this spring on here. So, I feel like to keep this thing from falling out, I need to go ahead and put this spring in here. And then I can screw around with, it seems like someplace, and I've got a hook that I really should be using for this. Alright, this thing's giving me some trouble here. Okay. Put this back in here. Once again, I will try your patience. This is why I was ranting on about how wonderful disc brakes are. because a lot of these car manufacturers they use the existing disc brake system as part of the parking brake, so you don't have this extra drum system in here. Okay, so I'm going to put this side in here. And for some reason I think I'm going to muscle that in there, and it's not going to happen. Let me go see if I can find my little hook assortment thing here. Okay. Sometimes it's easier just to get up and go get the tool rather than try and... Alright. Now this is being a problem maker here, so let me see if I can get this thing in these vice grips here. This isn't a particularly stiff spring, it's just, there's not a really long pull either, it's just, there, that did that. Okay. Alright, now we've got to move this whole thing a little bit, so these two holes for these adjusters, these things aren't quite, there we go, centered on there like that. Okay, now's the time to put these little things through. They look like little nails and a little thing on the end here. Let's go into a hole back here. I'm going to take my gloves off or I'll never find that. I'll never find that hole. Okay. Okay. Those are kind of fidgety too, getting it through there. So you got to kind of put your hand back here, and the finger back here in this hole, and pull this back. Okay, now this is sticking out here, so I don't know how fun or not fun these things are to put on. Well, we're going to find out. And I really should put my gloves on for this. Of course, the one I really then there's that. Then if I am wearing my gloves, then half of the fingers are worn out of them. What are you going to do, right? Buy better gloves. I got to check and make sure this camera's still running. All right. Okay. Where did I put that spring clip at? Another reason not to have 10 of these things all... Okay, it's sitting right on there. That, yeah. All right. Oh, man. I'm not sure how to attempt this, so... Almost. Okay, I can almost get it Okay. Okay, pretty much got it on this side here. Definitely don't probably want that coming off there, so you want to make sure it's in there, right? There, that popped it in there good on that side. All right, see if we can do the same thing on the other side. Where did our little pin go? Because I know it fell out too. Pretty sure it did. Yes, it did, right here, right over the clip. Okay, I'm going to try and get on this side of it here. Okay, again, there's a hole back here somewhere. You gotta... Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can put the glove on for this. And we'll see if we can do it. Basically what I did was, this thing is slotted, so you put this on there and push this part down with the screwdriver until the little head comes through right there, and then kind of try and slide this up. And it went okay on that side. It may go easier, or it may take all night to do this side. It's kind of one of those things, so we'll see. It would really help if I had something in here to kind of keep this brake shoe assembly a little more flush, like that. All right. This is going to be a little more of a pain in the butt, I think, because, you know, the other side was my more dominance. I don't know. This is not going to be fun. Okay. Again, I'm going to try and very lightly wedge these pliers in here, just enough for me to kind of be able to keep this shoe flush up against here. Just because I don't have big enough hands to reach around and put my hand on there. So again, if we can try and get this thing on there. Okay, come on. Yeah. What happens is it just barely catches right there. It's like half of that edge there catches right there. And so then I take this screwdriver here, stick it in the top of that hole, kind of wedge it down a little bit while I'm pushing on the bottom there, and that popped it in there. That's a magic act there. If I can do it on the other side, that could be luck. If I can repeat that on the other side without too much more issue, then we'll just consider it being an ability. Otherwise, you know. Okay. So I think we're pretty much done with this whole situation here. The only thing that really may or may not need to be messed around with is this parking brake adjuster here. I don't think springs in here good. Okay. Just making sure that spring's in there good. Alright, so let's stick this rotor on here and see where we are as far as if the parking brake is. As long as it spins relatively freely, then I shouldn't have a problem. But it's not going to probably do that. Okay, this is all part of these things just not being perfectly centered on here. I mean, it could be more than that, but that's what's going on right this very second. Okay. So okay, as long as that rotor can smoothly turn on there like that, we should be all right. Meaning that the pads, or excuse me, the shoes aren't spread out too far in there. Which, if the shoes are the same spec as the originals, which that's kind of a big if, you know, on a 26-year-old vehicle, but assuming the shoes was somewhere within spec and that adjuster had never really been adjusted, you know, it should be, you know, about where it was new. So I'm going to go apply the parking brake real quick. Again, we got this play moving back and forth here, and so it shouldn't do that with the brakes applied. Oh yeah, that parking brake, you used to be able to push it down a lot further, and that's okay. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. So that means that, and that doesn't mean that, you know, there may be, it may touch in there a little, and there may be a little bit of wear. You know, it may have to break itself, bend itself in a little bit, but they're good there as long as it's slopping around like that. That's good enough. Okay, so all right. We're going to pick up this stuff here real quick, move it out of the way. I'm going to pull this off real quick because I want to make sure these shoes are clean. So I did touch them a little bit. This one got just a little bit on it, but it's not too bad. I think their shoes were kind of nasty, dirty from the factory anyways either, so, as well, so, okay. Alright. And that's always nice when you know, it goes on nice and smooth, clicks into place. It's always nice to hear. Alright. So, we're going to put our caliper back on. And the bolts back in. Again, I already put some grease and stuff on these bolts. I do not put tons and tons of grease on this kind of stuff. I put some on there, but I don't put a lot on there. I probably don't put as much on there as they say you should, and I'll tell you why. Because what happens is, inevitably, you go out four-wheeling, or you're hosing it off under here, and you got all that grease and stuff that's gonna, I mean, it's got to go somewhere. It doesn't stay in there. It squishes all over the place a little bit, and if you put it on there, the next thing you know, you're under here hosing the thing off, and then you've hosed a big blob of that off onto your brake rotor or onto your shoe, and it's just, I understand wanting to have it well lubed, and you should, but just don't, you know, when it's to the point of where it's just running out like that, then you're not doing anybody any favors. And if you are going to grease and put a whole bunch of grease and stuff in there. Do it after you got it on here so that you're not, because that's the other thing too. You get this stuff all greased up and then you're touching it, and like I said, okay, well, yeah, that just changing this side, you could feel the pedal, the parking brake pedals a lot firmer. So I can't even imagine what it would feel like after the other one, doing the other side. I'm going to try and get to it tonight. I don't know. I need to flip this thing around the other way. That way the rear wheel's closer to the garage here. Okay. Time to put the wheel on. Okay, sometimes the jack will bleed down a little bit, or if you don't have the tire perfectly square, it needs a little bit more. Just a little more there. See, and the tire just wanted to go on there. And why wouldn't it? I mean, it's a wheel. It's a tire. It wants to go. Its very nature of its design inclines it to want to move. And if you're thinking, oh brother, yeah, like I said, these things are big. Try just sitting them someplace and not, because they will roll off. So. Okay. Once again, you can use an impact for all this kind of stuff if you want, but it really is a good idea. At least start them on there, because the guys, like I said before, the guys that put the nuts and bolts in there and just don't make sure that they're threaded in and start, that's where you end up with cross-threaded holes and just absolute, they have some real nightmares going on there. Okay. All right. Initial tightening here. Mosquito out of my ear, whenever it crawls in there, and get my jack stand. And again, if you're going to be using a lot of air tools, you should probably have some airing protection, because you wouldn't think they are, but you thought it was just the air compressor, but no, those tools they're noisy. They're great. I'm not saying anything bad, but they're noisy. All right. Let's let this sucker down. Alright. Only thing that's still got in place is the wheel chock. I'll move that. I haven't decided whether I'm going to flip this thing around or just jack it up on the other side and go for it. Alright. Final tighten on the lug nuts here. wonderful decorative center cap. It'd be nice if they could make it so if one fell off, at least all of them would fall off. Okay, when they're all on there or they're all off of there, it's okay. It's when they're half and half that's not cool. Alright, let's see. Okay, we're done with this side, so I'm going to stop it here and then either flip this thing around or move all this stuff to the other side. Alright. I guess I decided to flip it around. Oh. Okay. Jacking spot. Let me pick this one here. Wheel chock up here, jack stand back here, pop off our center cap and break these things loose. Again, these shouldn't have rusted on here too much from yesterday. I hope not. Oh, that one's on there. That must have been the last one, and I was extra happy. All right. Let's give this thing a little bit of air under the tire here. It does pay to get a decent floor jack. I am not even remotely saying that this one is wonderful, but it's got a big handle on it and it'll handle a little bit of a load. I really need another one. You can never have too many jacks, never have too many jack stands, never have too many funnels, never have too many drain pans, oil filter wrenches, just a lot of really simple little tools. And the drain pan thing, I mean, you're pulling an engine or transmission, you might not remember, but I mean, you might have transmission, you got to have a drain pan under the transmission in the front, maybe one in the back, and you got power steering pumps and stuff. Maybe you need to put one of those in a pan. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that you'll come up short all of a sudden in the middle of the night when you take on a project. So, okay. Okay, I think it's going to be happy right there. I sure hope so. All right, let me grab my socket here so we can get these calipers off. Let me just try and bring everything from I had over there over here. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, I forgot. These are a smaller socket size because the other ones have 14 millimeter heads instead of 12 millimeter heads. So I think I got one of those sockets in here. Yeah, I kept it in here. All right, Bolt number 1. Bolt number 2. And let's stick our caliper up in here. Okay. Alright. Remember, we kind of pull up on the bottom and out, and then kind of shaky shimmy down and out. Yeah. Okay. Alright, we should be good there. Alright, let's pop this thing off here. Okay. Should be the same drill here. We're going to try and do it the same way, which was, I think we popped these clips first, did that spring, kind of pulled them off, and then put the old ones on the same way. So let's see if we can repeat that process. I guess I didn't have a hammer. I guess I was just beating on the screwdriver with my socket. Shame on me. Let's see. Well, that seems to work halfway decent as a removal method for that clip. A flathead, an old, I'm trying to see what number this is. It's an old Craftsman flathead screwdriver that has been painted purple with a Craftsman 3/8 inch ratchet. So apparently that handle and that combination of the Barney screwdriver here seems to work pretty good for the clip removal here. Let's see if we have as much success on the other side. Okay, again, we got to push down. I have my light in here. Or the light's kind of crappy right here, but again, you've got this clip here like this, and so we're pushing down on this part here and then whacking down on the top of it there, so it'll you can see there's a slot there. And we're trying to push down on this part here and then hit it down so that it pops off of there. So once again, if you're not sure how it goes, take off the other side and look at it. Don't take that one off, but you know, look at it. All right, probably what would help too would probably be putting a little WD-40 or something on here and lubing them up a little bit. But I'm not doing that, obviously. Okay, all right, well obviously that can be a, what's the word I'm looking for? Confirmed removal method. I'm pretty sure the screwdriver's got to be purple though. I'm I'm willing to bet if I had one of my clear red and blue ones, it probably just wouldn't work. That's just kind of the way it goes, and here I am with the one glove on. Okay. Where are we here? Taking this spring off of here. Oh, well, these things seem almost pretty willing, ready, and able to just kind of come off of here like that. I don't know if they're going to fight it much at all. Yeah, I'm still going to have to take that spring off of there. But I got this hook here. That one, this spring here isn't a super stiff spring, and so one of these smaller hooks is enough to muscle this one. Like most of these brake springs on a lot of drum brake shoes, the springs are like this big or bigger, so you're not going to get anywhere with this. But this spring here is small enough where you can pull it off with this one here. So All right, now we should just be able to kind of do what we, there, and there's our, it spooked me again, but yep, there's our friendly little adjuster there. Just fell out. Alrighty, and here we go again. So, alright, we're gonna set these down here, set that spring there. Just kind of gonna set all this stuff, orient it how it came out of there, just because. And this is the point where I should probably put a cleaner pair of gloves on, because I gotta take these things out of here. Okay, and again, we're going to orient our shoes how they're supposed to be. So we got the of course, again, we've got the one with the stepped kind of slot at the bottoms, and then this slot here for the alignment pin and that clip. And the top one here's got this more squared off looking jaw here. It's that way on both sides. You could use these shoes either or. It just you could use. Actually, all of these shoes are the same. So any 4 of these shoes, you could use any one for either side, either or. You just got to make sure that they're oriented right in the upright position. So that's good to know. One less thing to screw up as far as that is always a good thing. Okay, I'm going to do what I did on the other one and hose this just a little bit here. Just because this is kind of the mechanically working part here, so. Yeah, some nasty stuff on there. That'll definitely work better than it did before. Like I said, I know the brakes were done probably 5 years ago, but who knows if the parking brakes were done, and it doesn't look like it. But, all right, so now we're going to do what we did before, which is take this spring off of this guy here, set these aside, tap that off a little bit there, put the spring back in here. So now we got our new shoes here. And let's see. We got our alignment pin back here. I'm just going to go ahead and take that thing out because it's just going to fall out anyways, most likely. So that way I won't have to look for it, right? So let me check and make sure the camera's still going here and make sure everything's all happy up here. Okay. Hold on here, let me make sure I'm zooming in on that as best I can here. Okay. Excuse the low light condition, but I think I had enough light on the other, so I should have enough light to be able to figure it out here. So again, we're going to we've got these little assembly here that we kind of got to put this over just so. Let's see here. Okay, so that's about got it there. Now we need to, what do we need to do now? We need to put our adjuster in there and get this other spring on here, right? So, gotta put this spring in there and the adjuster. This adjuster goes in there that way. I'm pretty sure. That's the way it fell out. Yeah. Okay, so get the adjuster on that in there. There's a slot, kind of a flathead slot in this adjuster. You got to get it in there right. They said all this stuff's got a particular way it goes together. It ain't rocket science, but as you've seen, it's definitely a little bit fidgety. Let's see, how did I get this on there? I don't think I pulled it in there. I think I muscled it in there with the little needle noses here. Let me get my flashlight here so I can see a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, the adjuster just fell out again. That thing is just, it's a naughty little word. Again, I'm sure the professionals probably put some type of a band clamp around these shoes or something to keep the shoes from spreading. Okay, let me make sure this thing is in here right. Alright, because what happens is if it's not in those slots just right, then you end up with problems. It's getting a spring on. It keeps the shoes just that much more that far away. Alright. Okay, I think we're good there now. We got to do those little alignment pins back here. And again, just kind of worry about aligning the shoe that you're working. Okay. Alright. That one went on there. Okay, alright, this one over here. Same thing, there's a hole back here. This hole, one of these holes is a little easier to get to. As far as putting this pin in, one of them you gotta look for it a little bit more. Okay. Alright, so the pin's in there. Let me rearrange myself here. See if we can get this one on here the same way. Probably totally in the way of the camera here. skewers. Okay. Okay, this one's a little extra fidgety. It wasn't going to go that easy for all of them. Okay. All right. All right. Like I said, sometimes it's just, you know, I'm sure there's just a wonderful little tool, you know, that works really great for that. And I don't own one. All in all, though, that wasn't bad. I mean, it could have been it could have been like 10 times that fidgety for all 4 of them. So when I say 4 of them, I mean the 2 on the other side too. So that was pretty lucky. And I was kind of losing light a little bit, and I wasn't on my good side here, so that's probably not helping matters any. So, all right, we are probably good to go there. Yes. Double check all this stuff here. Yeah. I'm gonna just spray a little of this crap on there, just to make sure. Okay. Again, we got to wobble those on there because those discs, even though those pins are holding on there, they're not. Those drums are not perfectly centered to go into this those shoes are not perfectly centered to go into this drum here. So, but we're up there now. Nevertheless, I'm going to wobble this thing back off just because I want to double check. Actually, if I just apply those parking brakes really good, that ought to kind of center them. So I'm going to go do that real quick. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. We'll see if that centered them any. Instead of having to take this thing off and yeah, you can see it's kind of flopping back and forth now like the other one did, so good to go. Alright, time to put the caliper on. And again, we're kind of back in here. Again, if you want to put some more grease in, now's the time to do it. Okay. Coat hanger while I'm thinking about it. Alright. I'm going to move my stuff out of the way here real quick. I like how I wore my safety glasses on the second one, but those springs weren't, that was not a situation like normal drum brakes where you have these big honking springs. That bottom one was pretty small springs. Okay, rotor's on here. Caliper's tightened, coat hanger's gone. Good to go, ready to do the tire. Make sure I'm still rolling here. Alright. Rolling. Okay. Probably do some camera trick where I just have 2 or 3 other hands just coming in here doing these all at the same time. You're like, what the hell? And you know, when you're putting a tire on, sometimes there's kind of an obvious, there's a little bit of slop back and forth, but sometimes there's kind of an obvious spot where the lug nuts were riding, and it's always nice to try and kind of, you know, put that where it was. Okay, let's do an initial tightening here. Just in time to lose the sunlight, it looks like, eh? Okay. Alright. Alright, so we did the front brake rotors, front brake pads, front brake hoses, the rear brake rotors, the rear brake pads, the rear brake parking brake. Okay, again, we're just finishing up with the brakes here. So we did the front brakes, rear parking brakes, and an oil change. So we had, again, the parking brake lining fell out on the one side, and then we had a missing caliper bracket bolt on the front on the other, and then a couple of bolts back there holding the caliper on. The head sizes were 14 millimeter instead of 12, but the rest of the bolts were 12. So I just reused them. The bolts were fine. So. Otherwise, should be good to go for a while in the braking department. So with that, I guess it's on to the next project. So have a good one. Thanks for watching. This Gemini is tired.